copyrighted broadcast of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, recreation, or retransmission of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Saratoga Racecourse. And it is just terrific to have fans back here at the spa. Sunny skies, the temperature will be in the 80s. The main track is fast. The turf courses are good. Please note we are off the turf today for race number 4. Portable rail is up on the melon turf at 12 feet and up on the inner turf at 9 feet. Right now, let's take a look at the changes for today's 10-race card. In the first race, scratch number 7, Grit and Glory. Scratch the 7. In the second race, there are no changes. In today's third race, scratch 2, Wild Banker, 5, What Do You Think Now, and 8, Life Changer. In the third, scratch numbers 2, 5, and 8. Race 4 is off the turf. It will now be run on the main track at the distance of 1 mile and a furlong. Scratch 1, Cladders Run. 2, Come Storming. Scratch 7, Ho 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 Ho. Scratch 8, Mopoka. 11, Alpha Babe, and 12, Ocean Air. Again in the fourth, which is off the turf, scratch 1, 2, 7, 8, 11, and 12. In race 5, scratch number 1, Mama's Gotta Run. Scratch the 1. Note that number 4, Martini Twist, will run with blinkers on. Blinkers on, number 4. In today's 6th race, scratch number 3, Courageous Girl. Scratch the 3. Couple of changes for number 1, Positive Skew. She runs with cheek pieces again and with 2 bar shoes on. Cheek pieces again, 2 bar shoes on, number 1, Positive Skew. In race 7, scratch the 7, Mr. Tip. Scratch the 7 and note that number 6, Yearn for Victory, is a Ridgeling. The 8th race is the Grade 3 Quick Call Stakes. Scratch 5, Fire Sword, 6, Fauci, and 7, Mr. Sippy. Scratch 5, 6, and 7. The 9th race is the Grade 3 Schuylerville. Scratch 3, Pipeline Girl, and 7, Happy Soul. Scratch 3 and 7. And in the 10th and final race, scratch 10, Big George's Kingdom, 13, 42 Ace, and 14, Reunion Tour. Scratch 10, 13, and 14. Note that number 3, Shinjuku, runs with aluminum pad off, and aluminum pad off, number 3. And number 9, a colt named Susie, will be 2 pounds over. Main track fast, turf course is good. Race 4 is off the turf. We'll be back at 12:30. Up next, the opening day edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
And you're back, and welcome to Saratoga, and welcome to Talking Horses. We kick off the Saratoga meeting. I'm Andy Serling, soon to be joined by Anthony Stabile. Looking forward to a tremendous Saratoga meeting, and it is absolutely sensational to have the fans back. Saw them pouring in the gates. It already feels like mid-afternoon on a Saturday at Saratoga. 40 glorious days of racing await us. Welcome to Saratoga and Talking Horses. And here is my co-host. You know him. Anthony Stabile. Anthony,
hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's been great to
what?
To be back. It's been great to have the fans here. Been here hosting breakfast at Saratoga for the meet, so had a couple of hundred people here already, watching everybody line up. It is fantastic to be back. You left me alone here with this guy last year. Thankfully, we're surrounded by our friends and our fans now. I'm looking forward to a fantastic meeting, and of course, thanks to our friends over at Saratoga Water.
That's right. Thanks to our sponsor at Saratoga Water. And you're surrounded by your friends. Mine is a mix. Anyhow, head over to Naira Bets if you're not a member of Naira Bets. And we may appear to be rushing, but we have to get through the show a little quickly this morning. We have to be off before 12:20 as America's Day at the Races kicks off at 12:30 today for opening day. Head over to NairaBets.com if you're not a member. Play through Naira Bets. Keep the money in the game. Support New York racing. Use the promo code SPA200. And we will match the $200 of your initial deposit. What else do we have, Steve? We have a $10 Saratoga opening day bonus bet, $50 each on Saratoga's first and last races, and I don't know if it's win, I don't know what it means, you gotta opt in. Anyhow, that's the bonus today. Also, we have the contest every Saturday here. $300 buy-in this weekend. You have until tomorrow at 5 o'clock to sign up. Head over to Naira.com/contest. Also remind people, 12:30 to 6:30 today for Saratoga Live. There it is. All right. Saratoga Live on FS2 all day long. I'll be kicking off the action with Lafitte Pinkai and the usual crew, and the whole crew is here. Anthony, race number 1 at Saratoga. I think one of the things about the first race today, and we do start a mile and 1/8, right around one run around the stands on the dirt course, it does appear that at least on paper there's some speed here, because you have to imagine Nick Zito's going from the rail or Ravinio. No Line potentially stretching out could have speed, and Flowers for Lisa is fast. Is Flowers for Lisa the speed of the speed?
Flowers for Lisa could be the speed of the speed, especially if he can recapture some of his old form. He's had success up here at Saratoga in the past. He won a nice allowance race a couple of summers ago, and you would imagine that if he's going to be on his A game now in for this 12-5, he will be forwardly placed. I agree with you though, Andy. There's plenty of speed in here, and even if a horse like Flowers for Lisa can get loose on them, he figures to have plenty of pursuers in the early going.
Yeah, I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think his form is as good as once was. He's a horse also that probably would have preferred if the rain came strongly.
Yes.
Fortunately, it did not. We are fast and good. Only off the turf for race 6, and keep in mind race 4. Race 4 and race 6 has been moved to the Mellon turf course. We'll take a look at Wagon Boss, the number 4, and we start out the day with the same pick. I thought we had different picks in the first race. Apparently we do not. We'll take a look at Wagon Boss and Charlie's Archangel, running at Churchill last time. Why do you like Wagon Boss?
Yeah, they had 1-2 last time. I went the same way in here. I'd have to imagine that this horse is going to sit a pretty good trip behind a decent amount of speed that we think's in here. Gets Joel Rosario. Source ran into Exulting a couple and 3 starts back. Exulting's on a big run down at Churchill Downs at the spring summer meet. Found a little class relief leaving the likes of Exulting. Got a good trip, got the job done. I think the same thing can happen in here. Give Michelle Giangiula her first win.
I think that horse is a player along in this race. Thought it was kind of tough. I thought the 9 horse, Hammer and Ammer, was a dangerous horse. Both Hammer and Ammer and Charlie's Archangel, both coming off the claim for Robertino Diodoro. And as well as Robertino Diodoro has big numbers off the claim. His numbers at Naira off the claim with dirt routers are not strong. Both will be in here. I'm going to use both those horses. I prefer Wagon Boss pointed for this race as well. A horse that can be forwardly placed, but if the pace doesn't heat up, if it does, he still should should get good position. Race number 2. Race number 2 and race number 5 are both 2-year-old maiden races, split divisions for the fillies. And it appears, at least on paper, that race number 5 came up significantly tougher. Race number 5 has a lot of big names in there, a lot of big pedigrees, whereas race number 2 really doesn't have a great deal as far as the firsters, and 2 that ran. Of the 2 that ran, I prefer the number 7, Zamuda. Andy Kaufman fans will be loading up on Zamuda here for his sidekick, Bob Zamuda. And I thought this horse ran okay after breaking slowly first time out at Churchill Downs. Did slip the rail after that, but it was a race that was dominated on the front end. It was the one horse to make up ground. And unlike Speedometer, who's obviously dangerous for Steve Asmussen, who used to win with all his second-time starting 2-year-olds at Saratoga, now he wins with all his first-time starters. I've taken Zamuda over Speedometer. I stayed with horses with experience. You've gone with a firster for Tom Amos. Good luck to you.
Yeah, Tom Amos with a filly named Microbiome. Dam was 9 for 34, earned close to $250,000. Just a couple of nice works down in Kentucky before shipping up. Tyler Gaffleone going to ride. I wasn't in love with either runner. The filly that beat Zamuda, Pipeline Girl, comes out of our Schuylerville later on. I thought the Asmussen filly ran okay. I preferred her to Zamuda. I also thought Frosted Oats for Bill Mott, half the grade 1 winner, Peace and War, might be okay, a daughter of Frosted.
It does feel like the Mott firsters, the Colts rarely seem to win first time out here. It seems like fillies have more luck here. I do have the workout for the number 5, Everyone Loves Linda, at the April sale at Ocala for Ed Barker. I thought this was actually a pretty impressive workout. The horse worked 10 flat, and I thought looked pretty good in doing it. Now, Ed Barker says he has a couple of good-looking first-time starters. One of them is a Quality Road. I forget who the other sire is. Not the Secret Circle, but he's a sneaky guy, and maybe like this one.
You're not going to believe this. He thinks this horse can win today.
Of course he does. And he's never, actually, if you don't know Ed Barker, he's actually never run a horse that he didn't like.
Ever.
So Everyone Loves Linda. I did like the workout in this horse, and maybe this one's a runner. I went with experience. Anthony is going more with first-time starters. Race number 3. First turf race of the Saratoga meeting, 1 mile on the inner turf course, and it's probably a battle of 2 horses off of maiden wins in their last starts, and an early battle here with Chad Brown and trainer Bill Mott. The number 9, St. Joe Louis, improved dramatically off his debut at Tampa Bay to win his last start at Belmont Park. We'll take a look at that race. Keep in mind, while the second-place finisher came back to win, he won an off-the-turf race on Belmont Stakes weekend. He did not come back to win on the turf, but St. Joe Louis was impressive.
Yeah, I just liked how handy he was. Just sat right off the pace. Joel really didn't do much with him here. Just, gave him his cue at the 8th pole, and he was long gone. I don't know what he beat. Land Biscuit was a horse that had run for tag in the past, and like you said, went off the turf. But he certainly did it the right way. And
what does it mean when a horse does it the right way? Is there an actual definition, or is that just racetrack BS?
At no point, no, I think at no point.
It's racetrack BS.
No, I don't think so, because at no point did it look like he was going to lose that race, especially from the quarter pole
he's getting an
home.
absolutely perfect trip because it's a subpar field.
But
I mean, I'm not knocking him, but it's not like he had some sort of trouble, or I don't think winning races with
the right way.
See, I don't think winning races with perfect trips is doing it the right way. And in fact, I think that's a good segue to the man who's abandoned his hero, William Mott, with Treason. I think Treason won the right way, because Treason actually ran exceptionally well in the context of that race, because unlike St. Joe Louis, who had an absolute dream trip, Treason was 4 wide without cover the entire way, which is not a good trip. Most horses that get those trips, they tire and they pack it in. And he was a 25-1 first-time starter who won like he was a 3-5 good thing. He was so much the best, and this was a good-looking field, at least on paper. I was very, very impressed with the effort by Treason. I'll show you a stat for Bill Mott. For what it's worth, it's not a big sample size, but it suggests that Bill Mott's runners in turf races that win first time... No, that's not it. That's Dust Devil. We can go back to the stat for Treason. Thank you very much. There's Bill Mott about 70 years ago when he was a young man. I think he's younger in that picture than his son Riley is now. 4 for 14, 6 hitting the board, good numbers with debut winners. I was very impressed with Treason first time out. I'm not knocking St. Joe Louis. I like Treason's debut, and I think he's a very nice horse.
He did a lot of running first time out. It was a good effort, like you said. I think the uncovered, just being wide, especially on debut, you take all that air, and you never get to save any ground, and he kept coming. They were the 2 for me as well.
I think the wild card in here is the 6, Point Me By, going out for Eddie Keneally. He was impressive, winning his debut first time out. For what it's worth, stretch outs with turf, decent enough numbers with an okay ROI for Eddie Keneally. It's so hard, though, to stretch from 5.5 to a mile, but he is a point of entry, so it would suggest his pedigree says he would do it. But he's not only got to stretch effectively, he's got to improve to beat both the 9 and 10 in all
Yes,
likelihood.
he's got to face winners for the first time. I thought, like you, he was ignored at the board first time out, 14-1. Maybe the pedigree suggested that he was going to want more ground, and he was just good enough to win sprinting first time out. I thought he could be a little live. I would let the tote board guide you with him. If he's 5-6-1, you probably want to get a little bit of a better price on him, I would think.
All right.
Off the turf in the fourth.
Let's go off the turf in race number 4, and we will now go to a video to start out on the horse who will be heavily favored in here, Big Bad Diva. I'll let you talk about her.
Yeah, off the turf, Big Bad Diva. The one race this horse has on the dirt down at Tampa Bay Downs, it's better than any dirt race he ever ran. So he wasn't entered main track only, but I'm sure his connections are more than happy for this one of all the races today to go off the turf. And like you said, Andy, there's just not a lot of dirt form to go off of here. This race goes to 1 1/8 as well. So from 1 1/16 to 1 1/8, this is a horse that's already won convincingly around the 2 turns, and now he's catching a bunch of horses that don't really have a lot of dirt form, and some of that dirt form is going shorter around 1 turn.
Yeah, it's hard to really go against this horse in the 6-horse field. As you say, there's just such a paucity of dirt form. I mean, Gemkey did run okay. Carrick's sort of ridiculous. The barn has gone a little cold after winning every race in sight and is just too slow anyway to compete. Gemkey seems faster than that one. I thought Rosie Holiday might be the wild card. The last time this horse ran the dirt, ran well enough to be competitive. But the 10, Big Bad Diva, seems like, based on the race we saw there, if she runs back to that race, she's a virtual cinch in this race.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about some of the others in here. They're kind of slow on the dirt, and she has that one fig that would just destroy this field.
Yeah, I wish I could make a strong case for anybody else. My other use is Rosie Holiday, because I thought her win on the dirt, 2 back, was good enough that I would use her in this race for a little bit. But the 10 is way the horse to beat. Race number 5 is the aforementioned strong maiden race we talked about. And let's start out with the horse that ran, Lady Scarlet, for trainer Brad Cox. And Brad, like a lot of Kentucky trainers, is going to have a much stronger presence here than last year. And I think you can see right away in the cards this weekend how much stronger the racing is with the presence of so many trainers and outfits from Kentucky. Lady Scarlet finished a decent enough second at Churchill last time. And I've decided to try to beat this horse. I usually go with experience, but there seem to be too many live firsters.
Yeah, I agree. She ran well enough first time out. Was the second choice at 3-2, so that tells you that was a race that was dominated on the tote board anyway by just 2 of the fillies. She ran okay. She stretches out to the 5.5 now. I don't know what I don't know what she ran against that day. And like I said, those races, they're dominated by 2 horses on the tote board. It usually tells you something about the rest of the field. So like I did in the second race, I went hunting for a first-time starter, and I went with one of the 2 who kind of have a little bit of a gaudy pedigree.
Why don't you talk about the 7, Echo Zulu?
Echo Zulu's a half to J-Boy's Echo, and Echo
J-Boy's Echo won the Gotham over Cloud Computing.
And Echo Town won the Alan Jerkins here last year.
There's 5 foals from that dam that could really run. It's not just the 2 of them.
The gun runners have been pretty good since we've seen it hit the ground. Mare was 3 for 4. She was a graded stakes winner. A lot to like here. And like Andy mentioned before the second race, it used to be the Asmussen barn won second time out. Last summer, I forget the number, but it was easily around 10 firsters that came up here and all looked really, really good getting out of the maiden
He was
ranks.
dominant.
He was dominant.
3 summers ago, too, he was extremely dominant. And obviously, like a lot of trainers, you point for Sarah with your 2-year-olds, but the one thing that the Asmussen barn has been able to do is deliver. It's one thing to point. It's another thing to deliver, and they have delivered. Now, Jeremiah Engelhardt has delivered in the past as well, and he's got to have to Mia Mischief, speaking of Steve Asmussen, in the number 6 Solasta, another horse who seems dangerous. There was a 1.5, 1 to 2 other foals from the dam could run. Mia Mischief, who was an Into Mischief. This one is a Golden Sense, so you don't get that Into Mischief, but still probably dangerous. I thought the 5 Out Fox, going out for Bill Mott and Ellen J. Foxwoods, sold for $360,000 to Ocala at what I thought was a very, very impressive 20 4/5 workout. I really liked this horse and thought Out Fox was extremely dangerous for Bill Mott. And this one, fillies for Bill Mott, first time out. Seems like those are runners for him.
Yeah, certainly one to keep an eye on as well. I don't disagree. The one thing I will say, without a lot of form to go off, when you're looking at the workouts, be careful with the bullets, because sometimes these horses are up here and 7 or 8 horses will work at the distance for the day, and they'll get a bullet, and that bullet will look the same as a horse that's outworked 40, 50, 100 horses for the day. Keep that in mind when you're handicapping the 2-year-olds.
The reality of workouts is that the times are one of the least important factor of workouts. I'm not an expert. I don't look at them, but there are workout reports that can give you more information on that. Times, not that relevant. I took repealing in this race. A first-time starter for Al Stall. 2 to 3 of the 4 foals in this dam could run. And my feeling here is that Al Stall is a dangerous trainer who's been known to win with first-time starters up here, and nothing better than the idea of maybe getting a little bankroll to start that Saratoga meeting and start your livest firster. So I'm taking a total guess. I actually saw Al Stall, and I told him that. He, of course, said nothing, which means he must like the horse. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. There's has enough pedigree, and I thought this could be a dangerous one at a much better price than the other runners. But this has the look, at least on paper, and it'll be interesting to compare the times of the 2 races, race number 2 and race number 5. Speaking of time, we don't have a lot more, but we've got 5 races to go. Quick break to hear from our wonderful sponsors at Saratoga Water. Anthony and I will be right back.
Make business meetings exquisite. Make a weekend outing exquisite. Make a late night snack exquisite. Make a night on the town exquisite. For nearly 150 years, the Saratoga Spring Water Company has been producing the finest spring water available anywhere. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
I figured Kaka could pick up. Welcome back to Talking Horses. He is the Big A, Anthony Stabile. I'm not. Race number 6, keep in mind race number 6 has been moved from the inner turf course to the Mellon turf course, which is also known as the outer turf course. You are going to try to wire the field, I believe, with a number 2, Alba's Star.
That is correct, and after getting on my soapbox about the Mike Stidham barn down at Belmont Park, things are different. We're at the old spa now. I like this filly's
so Mike Stidham's live now.
No, I didn't say that.
So what's the point of your entire
well,
diatribe?
I just think they're coming up to Saratoga. It's kind of a clean slate. Now, it does go to the Mellon. I like this filly probably a little bit better on the inner with her speed. I will try to bomb them out.
Speed's better on the inner than the Mellon?
Well, historically, I feel it is.
Okay. I don't know, but okay.
Philly, she was beaten by last time, came back to win a little stakes race last week down at Delaware Park for Steve Casares. And
she was 2 to 1 in that race.
Like you said.
She was the 2 to 1
Yeah,
favorite.
listen, it wasn't much, but she did win. And I just hope this filly leads them on a merry chase.
And you think that she can turn the tables on the horse who beat her Choose Happiness last time out?
I do.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think she's impossible. I see Kitten by the Sea as the 2 to 1 morning line favorite for Todd Pletcher. And is this Todd's first runner on today's card, actually?
It could be.
Take a look. Yeah, races 6 and 7 today. And
weird to be missing the 2 2-year-old races,
He has decent
right?
enough numbers coming off layoffs. He had a big priced winner at Saratoga. He's only 3 for 17 for what it's worth at Saratoga, off 6-month-plus layoffs, going turf routes. So his numbers are okay, but not spectacular, and obviously pointing. Yours is okay, and probably the best races that Kitten by the Sea has run. Will probably win this race like you. I was trying to beat her. I took a shot with this horse, Jazzy Lady. We'll take a look at her winning last time at Churchill with a mediocre fig. And I think she's going to get a little lost because this fig looks so low. Basically, she was blocked down the stretch. She ran for about 100 yards in here, and she was in a woefully overmatched field. But I think this is one of those races where the fig doesn't do justice to how well she ran. Now, I don't know how good she really is, but Ray Handel actually has decent enough numbers. He's 4 for 15 with a strong ROI off the claim with turf routers. And I thought she was kind of an interesting horse that he claimed down there and a new face to this group. And I thought maybe she's faced some better horses, and she'd be a little bit of a better price. No problem with the 2, no no real problem with the 5 as well. I think they're very logical horses. I basically thought in this race that there were 4 major contenders, the 2, 5, 10, and 11, and I put them 1, 2, 3, 4. Anthony has to put positive skew in every time because one day he'll be successful picking her going long, but he's done it about 10 times and she's never been successful.
It was 2,
whatsoever.
5. It's a 2, 5, 11 for me. I did that just to kind of nudge you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I did.
2 Cent Tootsie, I think, has a chance to get a
Okay.
piece in here and as well. I thought she had a shot to run a little bit. Race number 7 is an absolute war and a perfect example of what happens when we have all these shippers from Kentucky, because there's so many different horses coming in here that have been impressive in recent races, strong runners in here. Now, we'll start with the likely favorite, the number 1, Arham, who's part of an entry for Todd Pletcher with the 1A Ajaweed, who also could win if the pace gets hot. Dust Devil has been privately purchased and moved to Bill Mott. We'll be able to use that Bill Mott stat after this. I'm going to tell you something. I thought Aram was very unimpressive with his second place finish in here. He had the whole stretch to get by. I know it was a fast race. Todd's numbers with blinkers on aren't that strong. I think he's sort of grasping, and I'd prefer to take horses in here that are on the come a little bit. There are so many of them, than a horse like this who's had his chances.
I could not agree with you more. I felt like he had dead aim on Yankee Division last time and just could not reel him in. Kind of felt like he ran in place the last 1/8 of a mile or so, and now they're going to ask him to take on a little bit more ground. I don't know if turns are going to help him. You know, a horse like him who's just a grinder, he gets the blinkers.
He gets an extra 3rd turn, actually. He's going to do a little turn before
I'm
the
just
race
saying,
to add those turns.
he gets a couple of different things today. We'll see. And the problem with them, Andy, is, and you say this all the time, you have Arham, you have Ajaweed. The entry, you're going to get 2 for 1. They're going to be over bet, and while they can both win, I don't think they're really knocking anybody's socks off at a short price.
No, I agree. I don't know how much money Ajaweed would take. It seemed like he'd improve it just 2 back. He was so awful last time, it's hard to even know where he is, but I suppose if the race collapses, he has an outside chance in here. Did we show the stat for Dust Devil for Bill Mott? It's off the private purchase. It's his last race, and Bill just doesn't have very good numbers. As you can see with his trainer switches on the dirt, he's 5 for 45, 3 for 21 going long. The ROI going long is under $1, and I think the assumption is, oh, Bill Mott, well, they don't really improve, and he's a horse that really improved for Mertan Cantermachi, so I don't know how much you expect to improve, but he has run fast enough in his races to win.
Isn't this a curious private purchase? Right, a gelding.
I guess it depends what they paid.
Yeah.
You don't really know the circumstances. You have a couple of horses that I thought were impressive breaking their maiden. I mean, Yearn for Victory to a lesser extent, who's going to come off that race, rewire the field. I think that the 3 Business Model ran very well last time. Why have you left Business Model out of your top 4?
I don't know how far Business Model wants to go. His 2 2-turn races last year, he kind of labored a little bit. He got the 1 turn.
Different horse than last year.
Yeah, he could be, but he got a great setup last time, Andy, and he just. You know, he beat the field.
He did?
I thought he did.
I don't agree. I think the speeds ran 2-3 in there, and it was not a race that actually fell apart. It was actually a race where the pace held together. So I think the horse who got a great setup is the horse that you and I picked on top, and we'll take a look at Southern District. I disagree. I think Business Model ran last time out and is dangerous. I flirted with picking him on top. I ended up with Southern District, and we'll see how he does come from Kentucky. It's a horse that ran very well his first time out in the turf. He stubbed his toe and ran poorly in his second start, but he really came alive on the dirt last time. Now, the second horse came back to win, but he also ran 3 Beyer points worse. But I did think he was impressive winning his last race, and I don't agree with you with Business Model. I thought he ran very well last time.
Okay.
I think these are the main 2 if you're trying to beat Arham.
Okay.
I tell you what, we haven't bet a lunch. We're at 75 lunches. Can I bet you the 2 finishes ahead of the 6?
You mean the 3?
The 3, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
2 lunches?
Sure.
We're at 75 lunches. For those that haven't been following along in New York, we'll be at 77
We're
after
still
this
in New
race.
York, by the way.
You know, I don't think downstate. I think Dak Daniels is not impossible in here, though he's had his share of chances. I think Clay the Lionheart has a chance, but he seems to finish second in his races. I think those horses are good enough, though, to be competitive in here.
And I'm curious enough by the purchase that I think Dust Devil is
he
not
can
without
win.
chance in here.
Oh, I think he's far from without a chance in this race. We'll see what happens. I'm going to focus on the 2 Southern District and the 3 Business Model. Anthony's going to focus on the 2 and the entry, it appears. Race number 8, the first stakes, named for the mighty Quick Call, who was a 9-time winner at Saratoga, had an unveiling of his headstone at Clare Court yesterday. Quick Call, who many of you remember, winning 2 straight four-goes, losing another one by a nose, and he's a horse that had a great influence. I think he speaks so much for what horses do for people, because he was at the Walk-Hill Correctional Facility with people working with him with an incredible program the Thoroughbred Retirement Fund runs. And he's really a shining example of how much good thoroughbreds do for many, many people.
We had the chance to talk to Kelsey and Kim from Second Chances this morning during breakfast. They're going to come on HRN later as well. And just the whole story, the quick call. You know, it's kind of hard with four-star Dave around to carve out your own niche, but he certainly did that here at Saratoga as well.
This features a return of Golden Pal, who was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf winner. We'll take a look at it. He obviously ran very well in here, and he's an extraordinarily impressive horse last year. But I'm sorry. This is a horse that has not started since November. And I know Wesley Ward sometimes runs them sparingly, but no one will convince me that he said, my plan with Golden Pal is to wait for Saratoga and then ship him over to Europe for a start. It's a horse that was working well earlier in the year, and then he left the work tab. And I'm a little concerned that he's not going to come back. For what it's worth, Wesley Ward doesn't have great numbers coming off these long layoffs and turf sprints off of wins. He can win this race. He's going to be a wildly short price, and I don't want to pick him on top.
Well, you picked the only horse you could pick against him, because there is a question as to how good Jackson Traveler is on the turf. I'll let you talk about him.
We'll get to him.
As far as this horse goes, though, yes, he is by appointment only, but when he runs by appointment only, he shows up. Do I think this was the plan? No, I agree with you. This was not the plan. But with that said, he's here. I don't know how much he has to deal with, because let's face it, Andy, if Jackson Traveler can't turf or doesn't handle the turf as well as he's handled the main track, the rest of these horses that have turf are going to have to play Golden Pal's game today.
Well, I get it. I picked him second. I'm not against him. I think that he's a vulnerable horse, and we'll talk about Jackson Traveler in the middle. But, I mean, the horse that you have second of July, how can you take him in this race? I guess the only thing was he got a prep last time against better horses in a race that collapsed. But even his win was an absolute perfect trip. The second horse was unlucky, and he's got to improve dramatically off that race. But I guess your logic is if he doesn't, if the 9 isn't a turf horse, he's the best of the other horses.
No question about it. I don't want the other horse. I don't want horses like Omaha City.
What about Kentucky Pharaoh?
I don't know about. I don't know if I want Kentucky Pharaoh cutting back.
Well, he lost his rider last time. I don't know if he wants to go short, but I'd give him a shot.
Yeah. I thought 2nd of July was interesting. He had a
He's not impossible.
Tough start to his race last time, and I'm thinking
it was a
maybe
prep
with the
race.
race
He was in
under his
against
belt.
older monsters that he couldn't possibly beat relative to these. Now, as far as Jackson Traveler, and listen, he's not going to be a big price, going to be bet off dirt for him, so he's normally the kind of horse I avoid. This is his second last time to the very talented Outador, who's a very good turf horse for Wesley Ward. I mean, he's got solid turf pedigree. Muddings is a very effective turf sire. The Dam won on the turf. She's produced 2 turfers to try the turf. Both of them were solid. They were, at the very worst, as good on the turf as they were on the dirt. This is a horse that's running 94 buyer figure, winning a stake at Oaklawn on the turf. So why do I not think if this horse can handle the turf? It's obviously a question, but the pedigree says this horse is supposed to be able to handle the turf. And I think he's going to be an okay enough price because Golden Pal is going to be so short. So I want to take the alternative horse because he's got the pedigree to do it, and he's clearly got the ability to be competitive. Golden Pal has to show up and run his race. I'm not arguing against Golden Pal, but I think he's a little bit vulnerable in here. And the 9, Jackson Traveler, if he's a turf horse, Golden Pal better be ready to roll today.
I agree with. If Jackson Traveler can turf and he runs to his pedigree, he'll be tough. I'm a big fan of Golden Pal. I'm not a fan of the price, but I'm a big fan of the horse.
Race number 9 is the Schuylerville. First Schuylerville I ever saw, Anthony, was 1974. Najana won it. I believe that Najana won it as a maiden. I want to say Mac Miller. And Najana, we ran a stake for her here. It's one of the races that became either Lake George or the Lake Placid. We lost a big player in Happy Soul, a horse that I was going to play against in here. I thought she was very vulnerable. She will not play. It's a question, obviously, who would David have made favored? Because he wouldn't have made both the 1 and 2 the same price had they both been in the race. I think the one I pick is going to be favored in here, Mainstay. We'll take a look at Mainstay at Monmouth. Mainstay's after Vequist, who won our Spinaway last year as a maiden for these connections. Won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and ended up being the champion 2-year-old last year. I know it's 4.5 furlongs on a sloppy track. Believe me, I don't love that. This horse is working like a wild down at Parks for this race. And I think that Mainstay might just be the goods in this race. I liked her more at a better price against Happy Soul. I won't get in this situation, but I think there's a chance that she is really the real deal.
She was entered in our Astoria.
She was entered against Happy Soul.
Entered against
as
Happy
a first-time
Soul
starter.
And ran the same day down at Parks, down at the home base instead. And, well,
it was actually the next day.
Next day? Oh, it was Thursday, correct.
We're big
Thursday,
on accuracy
Friday.
on this show.
Thursday, Friday. During the Belmont State Racing Festival. Better?
Not the same day.
Not the same day.
I don't want you to start bad habits of giving out inaccurate information here on opening day. The fans demand more, Anthony.
Gotta go from 4.5 to 6. Like you said, you know, she went 4.5 at Monmouth in the slot over a sealed racetrack. I don't know how you do with that race. Yeah, I got a fourth.
That's going to work out well for you.
You
like that Velvet Sister a little bit off that big win at the 3-horse field in this race that they timed with a sundial?
I like Pretty Birdie. And I like Pretty Birdie.
Here's Pretty Birdie's debut.
Soul. Yeah, I liked her debut. I'm not going to say she did it right, but she was impressive.
Don't use that line.
I know. I didn't say it. She was impressive. She went to the lead, dealt with some horses while racing inside, and she just kind of ran away from them. And that's what you want to see from these horses early on. She ran a nice fig. She ran a fig in her first start that I think would have been really competitive with Happy Soul today. She doesn't have Happy Soul to deal with. I don't want to say I don't trust the fig from Mainstay, but I want to see it again. Not in the slot, not going 4.5, not at Monmouth.
She's got to run faster.
She's got to run
She's got to run faster based on the fig to beat Pretty Birdie if Pretty Birdie runs her race. I'm not familiar with that Sire Birdsong at all. Are you? I'm familiar with the Grateful Dead Birdsong.
That was a Mary Lou Whitney horse.
I assumed that.
Birdsong was Mark Cassie. He won, I want to say he was a grade 3 winner. He got good for a very short amount of time. I think he was the favorite in the Foster when it was still a grade 1. May have won the Foster.
It's a Grateful Dead song named for Janis Joplin, in case you're interested. More importantly. But thank you for all that information.
Yeah.
I don't remember him at all. No, obviously this horse can win, Pretty Birdie, and I'd love to see Norm Cassie get a big win here on opening day. I think they're the main two players. I'll be very surprised. I know that Velvet Sister beat a highly touted Chad Brown first-time starter last time. I thought that was a dreadful field, 3-horse field. I know she can win. I've got her third basically by default in here. The other Steve Aston runner, Eagle Express, has some speed. So this is a race that could potentially feature a pretty strong pace.
Yeah, we'll see how it unfolds.
Not that ever happens around here.
We'll see how it unfolds. I mean, Pretty Birdie was pretty fast first time out, and she gets Louis Saez from under the gun from the rail. I would imagine she's going to be trying to take them gate to wire.
Race number 10 closes out opening day here at Saratoga as we kick off the meet. Race number 10. I guess the horse to beat is Clever Fellow, who's 8-5 morning line, but I'm just a little sick of this horse.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming we both have the same mentality here. He can obviously win this race, but
he was bad last time.
He was bad last time.
He ran well too back. He moved too soon into a quick pace, and he was best.
He ran well last time. I had zero excuse for him last time.
I did not like his last race.
But the funny thing is,
still good enough to win.
The figures, he ran better last time. I don't think either of us agree with that.
Well,
the figs.
Agent Creed, who beat him, the reason he didn't run better or potentially didn't run as well as it looks is that he didn't do any running, whereas the time before he made a premature move into a quick pace that collapsed, and Agent Creed, who's not that much, took advantage of it. What do you like about Shinjuku, or is this just going to be one of those, I'm going to believe that Horatio de Paz is going to have a big Saratoga meet?
I thought this horse was in a decent spot last time, got into a little trouble approaching the turn, and they're putting this horse back on the turf. This horse was entered on the turf first time out.
He really didn't get into any significant trouble.
I thought he had enough trouble.
Was he doing any running when he got into trouble?
Well, that's the only one. I don't know if you can be definitive on that.
Well, you definitely can't be definitive. He did break slowly in his last start. I've got him fourth because he does have some turf pedigree. He's a half to Voodoo Song, as well as some other turf runners. I'm a little bit skeptical.
Andy, I think...
Is this like a DePaz story?
No,
you know, the DePaz barn is loaded for the meet. You want to come clean on this?
No.
He was on the show.
I'll tell you what.
He's pointing everybody for the meet.
I'll tell you one thing. You look at this race on paper, There's not a lot of speed in this race. He gets a rider change to Ricardo Santana Jr.
Instead of that bum John Velasquez that rode him last time?
But he didn't go to the lead last time. I wonder if the blinkers dulled this horse down a little bit. Now the blinkers are off, an aggressive rider goes on. I would like to see this horse forward, sitting no worse than second or third today.
Good luck with that.
You see a lot of speed in here?
Well, with the 10 scratch and the pace got a little murky in here, I don't disagree with that. I think Clever Fellow could be forwardly placed in this race. I think that Ruse will be forwardly placed near, and Ruse, we'll take a look at Ruse, and I did want to show the start of the race so you can see Danzig with the Stars and Viking Zim, because both did have a little bit of trouble early in the race, but my problem is that I think they both benefited from a race that collapsed. And I think on paper it looks like they did a ton of running in the stretch, and I think they were just sucking up, whereas Ruse was right on top of the pace. The pace collapsed, and that included the very talented Ocala Dream. I'm not Ocala Dream, I'm sorry. Bar 14, who came back to run big and had run huge in the race against Clever Fellow before that. Ruse does not draw well in here. I do like his chances, and I'll use him. The problem is I bet him last time at 10-1, and I think he'll be a fraction of that price today, but I think he's very dangerous if he can overcome that post. I think of the horses out of this race, Ruse is significantly more likely than either Danzig with Stars or the 7 Viking Zim.
All things being equal, I agree. That post could hurt him today. But
there's a relatively long run in the first turn, and you're the one who said there's not a dearth of pace in here.
No.
So isn't it up to Dylan Davis to be aggressive?
Dylan's got to be aggressive. That horse
why wouldn't he be?
Win.
Fast pace last time?
That's what I'm hoping.
He theoretically could clear.
That's what I'm hoping from post 3 with Ricardo Santana Jr. and Shinjuku.
If he clears,
if he clears, it'll be very dangerous.
It's going to be very tough to beat in this race.
I think if anybody clears, they could beat.
I think Irad Ortiz has to be aggressive with Clever Fellow, not only because the pace may not be that strong, but also to try to prevent Ruse from getting an easy lead. If he just abdicates the lead, then he could be in trouble.
I think he also showed you Clever Fellow 2 back. He's going to kind of need things to go perfectly.
He's just a horse who's had his chances on turf and dirt and disappointed at short prices. He's lost his last 3 races at 6-5, 4-5, and 4-5. That's a bad sign, especially for Chad Brown. One thing about Chad Brown, his horses win when they're supposed to win.
Yes, they do.
And this guy has failed 3 straight times on 2 different surfaces. He's good enough to win, but he's getting to be a horse. He's got a little bit of group thinking.
And he's 8-5 on the morning line. He's going to be closer to even money, I would imagine.
As far as my pick, Sandro the Great. I feel like Sandro the Great ran against legitimate open horses first time out on the turf at 1.25 miles in his first turf race, a New York bred against opens. Then last time out, if you didn't watch it for Christophe Clement last year here, this horse got carried out. You know, sometimes you see those inner turf races and somebody blows the first turn and they take another horse out. He was that other horse that got completely and totally taken out of the race. And at that point, Joel Rosario realized, I'm screwed here. He tucked him in. He got position. He tried to run. This was after breaking a little slowly last time as well. And he had no run, but he lost all chance on the first turn. And he was a short price in there. I think a lot of people are going to look and say, well, he was Christophe Clement. Now he's Tom Bush. Tom Bush is a very, very good trainer.
Sure.
And I think this horse is a little bit interesting, and he might get a little bit lost in here. And I think if it was Christophe, he wouldn't get as lost.
Half the price.
And I think he's a dangerous horse. So while I don't think the Sandro the Great is the likeliest winner here, I think he is going to be potentially the best value. So I'll use the 5, the 8, the 11, and the 12, and I would back up with your 3, Shinjuku, because he has enough pedigree, and he had enough trouble, as you say, to suggest that perhaps he could be better. But he's going to have to really be better because he stunk the joint up last time.
I want him to be forward today. I think he can be. I might go talk to him. Not Ricardo.
He might get nervous if you get too close to him. That concludes the opening of 40 Talking Horses here at Saratoga. A tremendous opening day. And you know what? You should celebrate opening day. Head over to NYRABets.com. If you're not a member of NYRABets, Essential Quality is still racing as opposed to that horse that shall remain nameless that has been haunting us for the last few months on the Belmont one. Use the promo code SPA200. Sign up for NYRABets. Support racing in New York. Nothing more important than keeping the money in the game. Racing cannot afford to siphon money out of horse racing. There is too much. It needs to be kept in the game to keep the game healthy. Play through NYRABet. We've got a bonus. I can't define it. Go to NYRABets.com for more information. The slates occasionally match up to the bonus. You've got to opt in on NYRABets to participate. Saratoga Saturday contest, $300 buy-in, all cash prizes, etc. NYRA.com/challenge. You have until 5 o'clock tomorrow to sign up. And finally, a special start. The show will normally start at 1. 12:30 today. I have to rush to the other set to join Lafitte Pinkai, 12:30 to 6:30. Saratoga Live kicks off on FS2. Anthony, have a wonderful opening day. You have a wonderful opening day at Saratoga. It is great to have everybody back. Enjoy. Johnny I will be up next with a reprise of the Scratches and Changes.